Context was set by Pooja. I won't get into a lot of more details because let's hear from the experts. Policy, of course, really, really important. We had Mr. Rahul Narvekar here talking about, well, he spoke about some of the important projects like the Atal Setu, the coastal road, and of course, reassuring us that the way ahead with the Maharashtra government is that they will be promoting more and helping this sector grow. With that, in fact, Ghulam, I'd like you only to kick off the conversation here. Your thoughts on, policy, because, it's important. Real estate is not a short-term business. Let's be honest. Whoever is making something, whether it's a house, it's an office, it's an industrial plot, it's roads, it's for the long term. Importance of policy, obvious, very important to have that continuity, to have that peace of mind that yaar aise nahi hai ki aaj policy ye hai 6 mahine baad badal jayegi and then where will I go with my building. Your announcements that are happening, what are some important points that you kind of tick off or keep in mind saying, yeah, okay, this is good for the overall sector? Just wanted your initial thoughts on that.
Thank you so much, ET Now, for calling me on this platform. It's an honor to be here and express our views on these platforms. I'm sure all of us would share those thoughts. Policy making and policy makers have a huge role to play in not just real estate, but overall growth of a country, economy, and so on. And talking, since the subject here is real estate has always been driven completely by the kind of policies we make. I recall about 20 odd years back, where there was a little chaos. A lot of policies were required to be made. And there came, whether you call it RERA, that is regulator, or GST, or a lot of those initiatives came in. And what we see today is a different real estate industry altogether. I recall 2005, if I'm not mistaken, Press Note 2 came in where foreign direct investment was allowed in the country. But that was a haphazard step forward where investors who came had no clarity on how to invest, where to invest, the guarantee of their investments not going bad. Nothing was there. They just came in on a blind faith, and most of them burned their fingers. They lost their shirt. So what changed later on? I would say last 10, 15 odd years, we have seen a huge policy shift. We have overall for the country, we've got much better policy framework. So where we are is a great place to be. As far as real estate is concerned, with a lot of uncertainties behind us, a lot of question marks eliminated, we are in a very, very open environment where we know what kind of business we are entering into. I recall those are the days when corporates were shuddering to get into real estate. I recall I started my career in a company called Tata Housing, and they initiated their business in 1987. And ever since, like for at least so many years, that company and one or two of those like Godrej and Mahindra's or quite a few others also came in and, didn't succeed and left the business halfway. Lloyd's was one of them. So for every Tata Housing, you will have at least 2-3 other corporates who came in and didn't make it. Tata's also is here because, they have long-term perspective, so they're here. So today, there is a better policy framework. So you have new names coming in, kinds of Birlas, Raymonds, etc. They are coming now. Arvind, this is the second coming of Arvind. They were in the business earlier as Lalbhai Realty when I started my career. They have come back again. So the environment is much suitable for better supply side players to come in. And overall, now where we are sitting in Mumbai, the development plans, etc., that are falling in place are also much better. Last about 4-5 years or odd years back, we got the UDCPR, which is actually giving the view of how do you create real estate anywhere in the state. So a lot of these initiatives are extremely crucial for sustainability of the sector. The sector itself is cyclical. I'm sure everybody knows that. So whenever there is a downturn, I guess we are right now reaching the peaks of the cycle. But whenever we are going through the tough time, a proper policy framework is something which comes to rescue of the sector. In absence of that, there were hundreds and thousands of people like us, the commoners, who bought houses and never get those houses, etc. Even today, while we have a great policy framework, but still we have a lot of those people who have put in their money and not getting their house. Supreme Court is sitting on so many cases, solving them. So all that is legacy of I don't know to call it jungle raj, but that was a situation when there was no system, no policy, nothing, or at least it was fractured. Today we have a great policy framework that comes in handy to ensure that not just stakeholders, the supply side stakeholders, but even on the other side, the buyers, their interests are well taken care of.
That's most important because let's be honest, in India, we are, I mean, whatever the way economy has changed, सबको अपना एक घर तो चाहिए ही, एक घर तो चाहिए, छत अपनी होनी चाहिए, उसके बाद दूसरा second house, third house, vacation house, that's a different part. I'll come to both the builders, developers here before I come to Chaitanya, but first I'll come to Mr. Mehra. Sir, one thing, I stay in Mumbai, and Mumbai में आजकल अलग ही एक redevelopment की हवा चल रही है. There's a lot of talk of redevelopment in Mumbai. Every lane you go to, every lane you go to, there is a redevelopment project. Every area you go to, there are multiple redevelopment projects happening there. Just your thought that taking on from where Gulam left about the impact of the policy on these projects, which will also be, which has to be reassuring for the developer as well as the resident. How are you seeing things happening where you sit with Shikhara Constructions?
As per me, after the DCPR 2034, as Jia said, everything is excellent. I mean, now there is a clarity. Clarity is there, how to do the redevelopment and all. I mean, but I still feel कि क्या बोलते हैं मतलब कि ये जो हम लोग को जो डिस्काउंट दिया था उन्होंने 50% क्या बोलते हैं मतलब गवर्नमेंट ने जो कोविड के टाइम पे 50% डिस्काउंट दिया था, मतलब इसके जो भी पैसा भरना पड़ता है, जो भी हम लोग को एक्स्ट्रा एफएसआई खरीदने के लिए जो भी पैसा भरना पड़ता है, उसके प्रीमियम के ऊपर जो 50% डिस्काउंट दिया था, तो मेरे हिसाब से अगर वो एक दो साल के लिए वो फैसिलिटी अगर गवर्नमेंट देगी तो जो भी स्टॉल्ड प्रोजेक्ट हैं जो काफी टाइम से रुके हुए हैं वो प्रोजेक्ट भी मतलब वायबल हो जाएंगे, लाइव हो जाएंगे. मतलब क्या बोलते हैं मतलब मैं ऐसा दिस इज व्हाट इज माय सजेशन कि भाई जो तो देन आई थिंक देयर विल नॉट बी एनी डिले ऑफ दी क्या बोलते हैं मतलब प्रोजेक्ट का भी डिले होने की संभावना कम हो जाती है. तो मैं गवर्नमेंट से तो यही रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि भाई आपकी पॉलिसीज आर एक्सीलेंट, एवरीथिंग इज एक्सीलेंट. ओनली थिंग इज दैट कि भाई अभी अगर आपको बिल्डर लोगों से फास्ट पेमेंट चाहिए तो मैं ये रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि जो डिस्काउंट कोविड के टाइम पे दिया था वो डिस्काउंट आप 50% एक साल के लिए दे दो तो जितने भी स्टार्ट प्रोजेक्ट है वो भी हो जाएंगे. और दूसरा जो देर आर सेवरल प्रोजेक्ट 37B में पॉसिबल नहीं हो रहे, मतलब एवरीबडी नोज अबाउट दैट कि देर आर सेवरल प्रोजेक्ट इन मुंबई पार्ट तो जो कि 37B में पॉसिबल नहीं हो रहे, फाइनेंशियली मतलब वायबल नहीं हो रहे. और वो लोग द बिल्डिंग्स आर मोर देन 50 years ओल्ड. तो उनमें हमारा रिक्वेस्ट तो यही रहेगा गवर्नमेंट को कि भाई जो 33(7)B में काफी प्रोजेक्ट है जो स्टार्ट हो गए पड़े हुए हैं, तो उनमें मतलब वो गवर्नमेंट को सोचना चाहिए कि भाई कुछ मतलब कोविड जैसा 50% डिस्काउंट जो एक साल के लिए दिया था वो ऐसा कुछ करेंगे तो बट रीडेवलपमेंट हो फिर मतलब विल गो इन अनदर लेवल, रीडेवलपमेंट विल रीच टू अनदर लेवल.
वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सही है सर, क्योंकि जैसे द पॉइंट इज व्हाट गुलाम आल्सो स्पोक अबाउट, जो पुराने मतलब बायर्स थे जिन्होंने उनके घर प्रोजेक्ट्स अटके हुए हैं वो जरूरी है कि वो भी निकले. इट्स नॉट यस न्यू प्रोजेक्ट्स कमिंग अप दैट्स ग्रेट, बट जो पुराने हैं वो भी क्लियर होते रहे.
पुराने भी ये अगर फैसिलिटी अगर गवर्नमेंट देगी तो पुराने भी वो जो स्टार्ट है वो भी ऑटोमेटिकली निकल जाएंगे ना. बड़ी बिकॉज देर आर स्टिल सेवरल प्रोजेक्ट्स इन मुंबई एरिया विच इज नॉट फिजिबल टू डू इट ऑन 33(7)B में पॉसिबल नहीं है. तो वो अगर प्रीमियम कम होता है तो डेफिनेटली क्या बोलते हैं मतलब डेफिनेटली द जो भी इंस्टॉल्ड प्रोजेक्ट है जो लोग सफरिंग कर रहे हैं जिनको प्रॉपर टाइम पे घर नहीं मिल रहा है उनको भी मिलना शुरू हो जाएगा.
जी Pakshal, I'll just now come to you. The other point is that yes, policy is important, etc., etc. But what are your thoughts on how has a strong policy, a consistent policy helped as a developer, helped in project planning, the pricing strategy, also the launch decisions for mid-sized developers? Like you decide this is the kind of project, this is the area that we'll go in. Your thoughts on that?
First of all, I would like to thank ET Now to invite us and have a discussion on this topic. So, if you go to see, policy changes don't only impact the project, but it changes the complete feasibility of the project in redevelopment especially. So I'm an architect myself. When we sit on the board, पहले ये होता है कि यार इस पे FSI बिठा दो. So the planning is not on how you would design the building or what more you can offer to the customer, but कैसे भी FSI बिठा दो, BMC के laws के हिसाब से building बिठा दो, ये open space छोड़ दो, then you start finding design elements, clubhouse डाल दो, rooftop terraces. But I think that shouldn't be the approach being an architect. I worked in London, US. So what approach is necessary is to have a consistent policy. What happens here is there is a policy now, but in 6-8 months, the policy will be impacted by the incoming people or certain changes in the government. So that really takes a back step as a developer for me. So project planning point of view, but the other good thing what I've noticed is since 33-9 or cluster development has come into picture, we've got a bigger parcel to play with. So there's a better planning, there's a better product, there's a premium on everything which can be offered to the customer. From the pricing point of view, what we at Sangvi do is, let's say we know the cost. The other good thing is we know everything beforehand. The fungibles are fixed, the premiums are fixed, the infra cost is fixed. So all your variables are fixed. So you know this is the cost. So now you know what you can sell at market rate. So what we do is we have the cost, we add our margin, which is our Sangvi margin, and then we sell the project at that price. We don't care what the surrounding price is. For example, our sales team tells us, so you should look at the pricing here is X. But I'm like, no, we can go below X because we want to sell the project on the launch itself, not wait to, have an inventory worth of X 100 crores after the project is done. Rather keep selling at regular stages and liquidating those projects and then completing those projects on timely manner. The other thing, what I've noticed during the launch, now pre-launch sort of things are not really happening right now. So as developers, we wait for the approvals, we wait for the IOD, we wait for the CC, we wait for the RERA to come in. Then only we go to the launch. So at that stage, the buyers are quite assured of the product, the approvals, the quality or the builder, which is going to build the product, under what timeline. Of course, there's a buffer taken by us developers, but there's a clarity on the stages of payment, there's a clarity on stages of construction. So I think the buyer is quite informed, and at that stage, when we have the RERA, we are quite confident that we will get a better result at the launch, rather than having a pre-launch and just assuring, sapne dikhana.
Exactly, sapne dikhana, but pure nahi karna. Chaitanya, I'll come to you now. I like what Pakshal said about RERA, which of course has been a landmark policy initiative. From a strategy and advisory lens, so, kind of zooming out, if I would ask you, which policy shifts do you think will have the most long-term impact on urban housing, more important on the economics of urban housing? Because somewhere, and I know people might not like it, but somewhere there is talk in the market where they say, like, महंगा है बहुत real estate in Mumbai. Again, I'm from Mumbai, so I've been here my whole life. But then otherwise, people also say that, look, if you look at compared to the international places, it's not that expensive. But in the end, when the buyer is signing that check, उसको हमेशा महंगा ही लगेगा. So your thoughts just on the policy shifts that can have a long-term impact on the economics of urban housing?
So, great question. If you look at the policy shift, right, what has happened is slowly and gradually, it is only strengthening the fundamentals. We talked about RERA, GST, REIT, all these are bringing a lot of fiscal and operational prudence. So transparency, accountability is increasing. So I would say a trust deficit industry is now probably taking small steps to gain trust. So I think that's a good side from a demand perspective. So that's one. Second, if you look at it from a long-term perspective, it is today you look at the budget, you look at the policies, it's more towards infrastructure. So infrastructure-led urbanization is going to be the way forward. Today you look at the corridors, you look at intercity connections which are being happening, rails, metros. So from a pin code spending, from where the developers are looking at a pin code kind of a growth, they'll move towards more toward transits and corridor or node related growth. So I think that's what's going to kind of define the next level of urban planning. Coming to an important point, right? Affordable housing, and I think that's where PMAY started the entire concept that affordable housing karna hai. But if you look at it, that's policy, great policy, but the execution has not been up the mark. Probably in the last 5 years, it has dipped from 38% to nearly 18 to 20%. One of the key reason is the clip levels. If I'm clipping at 45 lakh rupees, it doesn't really check the metro realities. Today, probably it worked very well in Indore, Surat, Ahmedabad. But look at Mumbai or Bangalore. It has not worked well because it has not looked at potentially the land cost and the construction cost thereby. And that's what probably we know that the real estate industry lobbying with the government to see that can we move that clip level to 75 to 90 lakhs or increase the space. I think moment those kind of policy shifts which probably over a period of time happens, it will again put a lot of supply and demand acceleration into the affordable housing space. So I think to me, if you look at it, fundamentally urbanization would be more led by infrastructure and some more probably re-looking at the policies or strengthening those policies, what we kind of put in the past, I think can reshape the entire urban landscape.
Fantastic. And Gulam, just bringing you back into this conversation, because what Chaitanya also said on affordable homes, the affordable housing space. I don't think there was much in the union budget for that. But how do you see the importance of these policy interventions on bringing, I mean, how do we give more impetus to that space, to affordable housing? What more can be done? Because that is truly very much a need of the hour. Your thoughts on that?
Well, affordable housing is a big anathema, if I can say that. There is something people are talking about, and especially on this platform where you are going to be awarding the contribution of real estate developers. I don't want to sound very dead against developers, but I carry that grudge that they're not doing affordable housing. No amount of these excuses that 40 lakh or, all that, these are all simple excuses. They're not doing affordable housing is a reason. Let's accept it because you have low hanging fruits. आप 2 लाख रुपए स्क्वायर फीट का मकान बेच रहे हो, आपको कहाँ 2000 रुपए स्क्वायर फीट का मकान बेचने में इंटरेस्ट होगा? Let's take it. Developers, name after name I can give you, who have moved away from affordable housing in last 5 years because their malai दूसरी तरफ ज़्यादा है, तो आप यहाँ पे क्यों देखोगे? So these are all excuses कि 40 लाख से 45 लाख ठीक है, वो होना भी चाहिए, but then that is not the reason. That's just an excuse for you to not do affordable housing. And I'm sure a lot of developers sitting over here, very clearly and the message has to be sent across that they're not doing enough to do affordable housing. Now, about, I think, first week of December, Niti Aayog did a large conference where most of these industry bodies were there, right? From MCHI, CREDAI to NAREDCO to you name it, all of them were there. Again, एक ही single point, bring this down. Government land दे यार, अपनी land पे तो affordable housing बनाने नहीं है. Government land दे, क्यों government land देगा भाई? आप खुद भी तो कुछ करो. So here, the PMAY 2.0, which has come about a year and a half or odd back, I think October 2024 is when they came out with Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana 2.0. They came up with fantastic policy framework. But the problem is, in the meanwhile, nobody wanted to do affordable housing. All the names talk about, since one of them I have learnt my ropes from their Tatas, were there in affordable housing? Not there anymore. Talk about Shapurji Palanji, almost not there. Brands and listed players, and this is something which I don't just kind of putting a blame. This is something on record when the MD of Signature Global did say this was a company which started on affordable housing, and they're not doing affordable housing anymore. So you don't have a developer who is doing affordable housing. And in the middle of all that, the demand, we are talking about numbers now, let's talk about number. PMAY Urban, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. is talking about the demand in next 5 years, which is starting from 24 to 29, of 2 crore houses. And then to say that they haven't done enough is wrong, because in the first, PME 1, they have delivered 1 crore houses. So to say they haven't done enough is wrong. Because you're sitting in Mumbai, because you don't see the impact of affordable housing that government has done in the rest of the country, you want to believe that they haven't done enough. Which is, sitting in your own small domain and armchair advisory saying government is not doing enough is not really the right way. Affordable housing is happening all over the country. And when we talk about affordable housing, there are various different ways government is contributing to the affordable housing. Only those who are sitting over here are not doing affordable housing, and that is one reason why we continue to talk about these on these platforms. Mumbai, now talking about what is affordable housing for Mumbai. Do you know, if I talk about the top 8 cities of country, which includes Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, etc., do you know about 35 to 40% of the inventory that comes in Mumbai, and I'm talking about MMR region, Mumbai metropolitan region, is below 50 lakh. Can you beat that? Nowhere, no country, no city in this country gives such a big contribution to below 50 lakh houses. Mumbai does it. And we are sitting in here saying that 40 lakh, 90 lakh karo. Ban to rahe, koi na koi to bana raha hai. So here, affordable housing is a big contribution. Actually, affordable housing is something which you need to really dig deeper into and understand. Just doing lip service, sitting over here saying that ye kam kar do, kam kar do, is not the right approach.
Okay, got your point on that. But I just want to take it a little ahead now with Mr. Mehra. Sir, अगर if we move on and now एक और चीज बहुत जरूरी होती है is the rights of the tenants or the rights of the, if we talk in redevelopment of the existing tenants और नया घर है तो the customers. What can be done to ensure that जो redevelopment हो रहा है उसमें both, whether they are existing tenants get their houses in time, ये वाला, or whether the new buyers who might be putting in money जब project complete नहीं हुआ उसके पहले ही, how can we ensure that their rights are kept safe and they get what they are paying for within the time that has been agreed to?
See, आजकल तो क्या है, आजकल तो गवर्नमेंट की पॉलिसी बहुत क्लियर है. हेलो, क्या?
हाँ जी, so हाँ,
तो क्या बोलते हैं, मतलब आजकल गवर्नमेंट की पॉलिसीज आर वेरी क्लियर. अभी जो टेनेंट्स होने दो या जो भी मतलब जो रीडेवलपमेंट में सोसाइटी जा रही है उनका तो PAAA करना ही पड़ता है ना. अभी हम लोग परमानेंट अल्टरनेट अकोमोडेशन दैट आल्सो भी, वो भी उसका भी प्रॉपर रजिस्ट्रेशन होता है. स्टैम्प ड्यूटी रजिस्टर करके वो डॉक्यूमेंट रजिस्टर करना पड़ता है. वो तो आजकल तो लोग खाली नहीं करते हैं जब तक उनका PAAA नहीं होता है, परमानेंट अल्टरनेट अकोमोडेशन का एग्रीमेंट नहीं होता है, स्टैम्प ड्यूटी रजिस्ट्रेशन का. तो दैट इज द वेरी, क्या बोलते हैं, गवर्नमेंट ने जो रूल बनाया है वो बहुत परफेक्ट है, मतलब इज वेरी गुड एंड दे आर सेफ. उनकी सेफ्टी है और उसमें भी मतलब लिखना पड़ता है कि आप प्रोजेक्ट कभी डिलीवर करोगे. ईच एंड एवरी टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस आर रिटन इन देयर. सो इसके ऊपर और क्या सिक्योरिटी हो सकती है? व्हाट मोर सिक्योरिटी कैन बी गिवन?
बट उसमें सर अगर कहीं डिले हो गया तो व्हाट इज द,
अभी डिले है तो देन वी आर आल्सो, क्या बोलते हैं, आंसरेबल. डिले हो गया तो द बिल्डर्स आर आंसरेबल टू द गवर्नमेंट, टू द कोर्ट्स और टू द महारेरा.
But is there more that can be done from policy perspective on this to help?
I think PAAA is the best. गवर्नमेंट ने जो डिक्लेयर किया है वो बहुत अच्छा पॉलिसी है, क्योंकि आजकल तो लोग मकान ही नहीं खाली करते ना. पहले बोलते भाई मेरा पहले PAAA करो, मेरे को स्टैम्प ड्यूटी रजिस्टर्ड ऑफिस में जाके PAAA करो, उसके बाद में हम आपको जगह खाली करके देंगे. तो दिस इज मोर देन एनफ. और उसमें ईच, इट इज जस्ट लाइक ए एग्रीमेंट. इट इज जस्ट लाइक ए सेल एग्रीमेंट, sale deed agreement. So nothing to, they don't have to be worried about that.
Got it. Pakshal, I just come to you on, again, from one part of policy is of course setting the rules, setting the way ahead. But a subset of that are the approvals, the compliance that you need. And, you know, I mean, do enlighten us how many approvals and compliances are required to get a building going. But in that, how have things changed? How can things be made better? Because on one end, India is moving up in the ease of doing business ranks and the government spoken about, and I'm talking now on a national level, spoken about one window clearance in different states, etc., for setting up new businesses. How can, in the real estate sector, that help? Because I do know that you need permissions from so many government authorities, approvals, compliances, which are ongoing. Matlab wo occupation certificate, CCJ, OCJ, all of that is required. Just give me your thoughts on that.
See, one thing you have to give credit to the government is there has been a structured framework in the approval in the last, let's say, 7 to 8 years. So you know which applications, which NOCs you have to take and what comes after what. The only thing missing right now is the timely approvals of those structured policies. So what's happening, I know I have to go to aviation and get an aviation remark. But let's say if there are complications, so then the time limit is not fixed. So what I would suggest is there should be a deemed approval like you have in other countries. There's a time limit, you either put a comment saying come with more details, or if there's no comment, deem approval and you can go ahead. So what happens is, see, we go ahead with all the positive planning, itne din mein ye aayega, this will take so much time. But then there are some uncertainties which we don't cater for. और उसकी वजह से क्या होता है, there are financial uncertainties or the risk which we as a builder carry. जिसकी वजह से we cannot, make housing cheaper. Because there's a big interest cost in Bombay, big land cost, a big premium cost which you pay upfront. And then you're left in a limbo saying, oh, don't know, approval kab aayega, or how long do I have to wait for it? I'll give you an example. In high case, we've got all the approvals, but then there are, in South Bombay, in redevelopment, there are some estate-owned properties, MADA-owned properties. So you get an approval from BMC, then you have to go to estate to get the approval for further CC. In case of MADA, you have to go to MADA again to get a further approval for those CC. So there should be a single window clearance. The other thing, we as a developer, we've started to analyze risk in terms of, we know ye time lagne wala hai, ye financial planning lagne wali hai. Let's start designing apartments or houses according to the budget rather than hamare sapne. Okay, we'll sell a home worth that much. Let's come down to the buyer demand is, the timelines are not going to change. You have to cater to everything, but you can do is something you can sell your homes faster. So it all comes down to the planning. And I think time is the only thing which is missing right now from the Bombay approval system.
So somewhere obviously helping developers get a kind of a finite timing roadmap which can help कि ठीक है 15 दिन नहीं 20 दिन 30 दिन, but it shouldn't be 30 दिन का 90 दिन 180 दिन हो गया, then everything goes for a toss.
Exactly.
Right. Chaitanya, while earlier Mr. Rahul Narvekar spoke about how the state government is gung-ho towards development in the state. While of course, so state level execution very important for any policy framework that is done, but how much of local governance do you feel is there critical for determining the success in the housing reforms? By way of, so if I'm saying, ठीक है, national level पे एक बात हो गई, state level पे एक बात हो गई, but if I am going out of Mumbai, if I'm going to smaller districts, smaller talukas, which are also coming up, the importance of that local governance there to give a push to the housing space there. Your thoughts on that?
So, I think I talked about, right? I think more and more infrastructure-led urbanization is going to be the key. And one other thing is also about, while we talked about the urbanization, it's also about strengthening the municipal finances as well. Many a times we have seen that there is a lot of demand, there is a lot of supply, but probably the water, the sewerage, the transit, all that is not in shape.
Yeah.
And it's about that fact that many times there are budgets, but they don't get executed in time. So it's important that we kind of strengthen that entire process and streamline that. So in my opinion, both municipal finance also needs to get kind of strengthened in terms of their source and application both put together. That is going to kind of make it far more livability. Because as you go far and far, I think that's where the entire purpose is, that's where the infrastructure is building. Today we talked about the Mumbai 3.0. That's where the entire infrastructure is getting built, and that's where the demand is also shaping up well. And that's where developers also now starting putting their entire portfolio to kind of ensure that they are able to capture the demand. So that's the way I'll put it.
Okay. Ghulam, I just want your thoughts. Actually, this is a common question for everybody. If you could recommend one policy reform that you feel could unlock the housing supply in Indian cities, what would it be and why?
The game changer. We have been talking about a lot of things that have happened for the sector in last so many years. So sector per se can't ask for more from government. It's the way I look at it. When people say that budget mein hona chahiye, these are all, and so many years nothing comes and we are fine, we are doing better every year. So we can't expect much from government except for one thing. And my expectation is the blockchain for land records is the key. Something which last year's budget had some small amount to at least focus on, create some policy frameworks, etc. But that is truly going to be the next big one. The moment we are getting into land records on blockchain, we have arrived. Till then, there are thousands of court cases in every court, from session court to high court to everywhere. टिपिकली कहा जाता है कि कोर्ट में जो भी मसले चलते हैं वो 3 चीज़ों पे चलते हैं, जर, जन, ज़मीन. बाकी 2 को छोड़ दो, एक तो ज़मीन है. तो जो तीसरा है, almost 1/3 I would say and more are on real estate, which is essentially land. So the next big thing where we will never look back after that will be blockchain land records. That happens, we will hit the big one.
But Ghulam, it wasn't just, do correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think somewhere in India, maybe in one of the southern states or something, had they experimented with blockchain land records or not yet anything?
Various ULBs, urban local bodies, are experimenting in one way or the other. Well, we are not too badly placed. Like, at least in Maharashtra, most of our transactions are actually on all recorded digitally.
Yeah.
Every transaction that you do today is digitally recorded in Maharashtra. And again, something I don't know how many of you all know, Maharashtra is one of those states which has made it mandatory to register your transaction within 2 months of you doing that transaction.
Yes.
Most of the states don't do that. So you go to Haryana, you go to UP, you have a freedom. You can start with a builder-buyer agreement on which आप 500 रुपए का stamp duty भर के आप agreement बनाते हो, and then it is compulsory only when you are taking possession. So the actual transaction may have happened 6 years back, but it doesn't appear on your records. So Maharashtra is way ahead. So your point, many states are doing digitization of records. Gujarat is doing it, Maharashtra has done it, multiple states are doing it. But what I'm talking about is land record. Can you imagine every land in the country will be digitally recorded? And that is the that's the foundation of any kind of real estate. So today when I'm sitting over here, you are selling an apartment, I am buying it, at least that much part of it is safeguarded.
Yeah.
But the property on which that apartment which you sold to me is built is still not digitally captured. So most of your land disputes, or in fact developers are sitting over here, they will tell you that huge amount of time goes in legal due diligence of their project.
Yeah.
So while we are talking about single window clearance, everywhere you again hear the same similar thing. So everybody wants single window clearance, lekin usse pehle, unless you have legal due diligence done properly, all of that doesn't matter. The time that you spent in legal due diligence, you would have done to get all your approvals and permissions in place. So here, the key differentiator is going to be getting the blockchain activated for all your land records. And beyond that, it will be a heaven.
Okay. Pakshal, your thoughts? The due diligence taking up most of your time?
Yeah, totally agree with him. It's the due diligence which takes more than 2 to 3 years before working or starting actual financials or working on the project. The other thing is, I think we have the policies in place to make housing in Mumbai or Maharashtra affordable. It's just that timely execution of those policies. Everything is in place. I think there should be a mandate on time or deemed approval. It will automatically solve every problem, because we are sure we don't have to bear that extra burden of interest or extra rental cost or extra delay cost or rate escalation cost. So a timely window would be a great. The other thing is, if you give incentive for a design-led building, like how they give it in London, let's say, if you're giving back to the city, you might be given a discount on, let's say, some premiums by the government. So rather, let's not build concrete jungles, but let's start building homes for people who deserve to live in them.
Absolutely. Chaitanya, your thoughts, same thing. One kind of one policy reform that you would recommend.
I think they've picked up what I was thinking about. I would genuinely believe time-bound single video clearance can make a lot of difference because that really helps, brings predictability to the entire market. That's one thing. I'll just probably take a slightly different thing. I think they've talked about policy, what I was thinking about. But even from a developer perspective, I think they also need to start embracing technology to drive the entire, because speed is the key. He talked about time, and time is translated to back to the speed. How well you are adopting technology to kind of accelerate your entire land to launch cycle. While we talk about a lot of uncontrollables in terms of approval, which probably that single window time-bound approval can solve for, but there are a lot of controllables within the organization, which also needs to be catered to. I think that's what probably so technology is an answer, which probably even Ghulam talked about. Be it blockchain is a technology, be it single window clearance, that's again a technology-led thing. The technology is an answer which probably will kind of disrupt everything.
All right, I will be taking these thoughts ahead because my next panel is on prop tech and innovation. But before we just wrap up, Mr. Mehra, your final thoughts. आपके हिसाब से कौन सी एक वो पॉलिसी रिफॉर्म होगी अगर हो जाए तो इमीडिएटली हाउसिंग सप्लाई खुल जाए, we'll be able to do things better.
ये जो ओपन स्पेस डिफिशिएंसी है उसमें थोड़ा इम्प्रूवमेंट होना चाहिए और जो पार्किंग का जो थोड़ा है उसमें भी थोड़ा इम्प्रूवमेंट होएगा तो मेरे ख्याल से ये हो जाएगा. बाकी तो सर ने जो बोला है वन विंडो क्लियरेंस दैट इज द बेस्ट. और दूसरा उन्होंने आर्किटेक्ट साहब ने जो बोला कि भाई क्या बोलते हैं आप जो भी ड्यूरेशन है समझो उनको अप्रूवल 2 महीने में देना है. अगर 2 महीने में नहीं है तो दैट शुड बी कंसिडर्ड डीम गिवन. मतलब अभी मतलब कुछ ना कुछ तो मतलब होना चाहिए ना. मतलब कि भाई क्या बोलते हैं अभी बिल्डर्स लोगों के ऊपर भी इंटरेस्ट का भी बर्डन बढ़ता है ना. अगर अप्रूवल टाइम पर नहीं मिलेंगे तो उनको इंटरेस्ट के ऊपर भी मतलब इंटरेस्ट भी उनका ये होता है. तो बेस्ट पॉलिसी वही गवर्नमेंट से यही रिक्वेस्ट रहेगी कि भाई वन सिंगल विंडो क्लियर जैसे सर ने बोला वो अगर और जो भी अभी 2 महीने में अप्रूवल देना चाहिए 2 महीने में अप्रूवल नहीं मिलता है या तो ऑब्जेक्शन डालो या फिर क्या बोलते हैं मतलब इमीडिएटली डीम ओके कर दो. मतलब भाई हो गया.
Fantastic. Thank you so much to the panel. Important points coming out from here that hopefully if we can get deemed clearance within a fixed time with use of more of technology, especially the blockchain for digitizing land records and other parts of the real estate space, it would make things go faster, more trustworthy and help for quicker, better development. A huge round of applause for my panel here this evening. Thank you so much.